Hello to all my subscribers and the people YouTube might show this to. You might have clicked on this video because you listen to audio roleplays, or you know they exist, but are confused why there's a demand for them, and what they're about, or you have no idea at all. No shame if you are either cohort, we are not here to judge. Audio roleplays are a genre of video on this platform that involve the viewer, or more accurately, listener, being included in a performance of some kind. Usually, the voiceover artists play as a character and play the role of a lover, a boyfriend, a figure of authority, or just a friend. You might get the idea. It sounds weird when you say it out loud, but I find them specifically interesting because they are one of the strongest examples of characterization and power fantasy. Mommy ASMR roleplays aside, saying that out loud is really weird. But when you start to peel back the commercialization of loneliness, you can find something interesting about characterization. Audio roleplays are unique and could be strange because they expose something we want to keep hidden or feel like we should keep hidden. Listening to a voice as a comforting presence or one that involves you in a dramatic scene seems like escapism, which follows naturally. It requires you to extend an extra step of suspension of disbelief that involves you, yourself, inside the piece of media. Not you playing a character, but you yourself. And this is natural, but it's not entirely clear why. And I'm going to explain. To start, we can talk about why characterization exists in theater, movies, video games, songs, literature, or any sort of media at all. Characters in fiction exist as reflections of ourselves as humans. We may have opposing or similar values, interests, histories. We can even take inspiration from real-life figures and apply them to our own lives and experiences. Think of the powerful celebrity representation that advertisers use to get our attention. We want to feel like Daniel Craig, or better yet, James Bond, when we look at an Omega watch.
You know, former SAS types with easy smiles and expensive watches. Rolex?
Omega.
We too feel inspired to come close to the bold sexiness and confidence of the way Zoe Kravitz is portrayed in the ads when we think of using the Yves Saint Laurent black opium fragrance. That's why the first person is so powerful from a narrative point of view. We're thrust into another life not too different from our own, but different enough to offer a vision of power, of control. And that control is, we choose the hero we play or the characters we interact with, and hopefully the things we achieve. In a world that's taking away comfort, taking away choice, it's very easy to look to media in order to find our strengths. For some, this is an escape, but for others, it's entertainment. But it all comes down to having a representation of the power to choose your circumstances, choose your abilities, and experience something else. Even if your character has challenges along the way, like most narratives have, you had the power to pick up that book, watch that movie, with the security that your character, your reflection, is going to make it out okay in the end. And if they don't, well, you might find the reflection that some other person is going through the same thing. A similar thing to your struggles. That's why the background footage is a clip dump of my favorite moments in some video games I play. I choose to be Reinhardt because thinking of myself as a 7-foot German man with all of his power is fun. We can argue that the agency, what we are able to do as a person, the flashiness, the material things, actions inside a piece of media is the fun part. But no one wants to watch a movie without characters. I don't think Anyone wants to play a modern game like Overwatch with all of these mechanics and actions to take, yet blank hitbox models without even stylistic expression. So it's not surprising that audio roleplays exist or that they're so popular at all. Just like a VR headset, I view it as an extravagant display of how far you can push one particular sense in enabling such a power fantasy. It's a subset of auditory expression, much like an audiobook. Instead of video handling what your eyes process, you're allowed visual space to pair your own vision of what you want this experience to be. That's hard on the medium, because instead of just narration of a text, the responsibility of suspending disbelief is doubled on the audio, as it invites the reader into participating in its world, not simply being in its world. We can reduce this genre to simple escapism, toxic escapism, and I think part of that responsibility is on the listener themselves. You know, people can get addicted to movies, video games all the time, and we can have conflicting feelings about appreciating it if we're listening to these as guilty pleasures, but the amount of work needed to fully give the reins to the listener on the part of the voice artist and or writer is nothing to scoff at. It's such an interesting example of how important and valuable the concept of a power fantasy is. Given its popularity, we understand, somewhat, the driving forces behind it, and maybe we hate ourselves for it, that we so have this ego to control the environment, to make up things that make us feel good. But there's nothing wrong with acknowledging it, and certainly nothing wrong with accepting it. Everyone has a power fantasy. So maybe if you're adventurous and enjoy creative ways to tickle that fantasy, you should try listening to an audio roleplay. And if you already do, reach out to your favorite artists and show them you enjoy what they've been putting out. As a listener and a creator, I certainly wish this genre its continued growth and success. This is the outro now. I know it's not part of the script, but if you want to check out any audio roleplays, what better place than to find mine? Yeah.